Hi, my name is Kate Peterson, and I am a librarian at the University of Minnesota Libraries. Welcome to the university. I'm now going to share my screen. And I want to talk through some advanced strategies that are going to be useful to you now and in the future. So there are a lot of different things that I want to share. I'm going to talk pretty quickly. Remember that you can stop and go back. And a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about might just be a review for some, and it might be sort of a taste for some. And it might not be enough information, but hopefully it's enough to kind of get you started and get you thinking. And then there's lots of different ways to get support. So I am going to go through some slides, and you can go back to the slides here. So to get to the slides, you can go to z.umn.edu/lib advanced 2020. So at any time you can go back and then look at the slides, because the slides have a lot more information in them as well. So what I want to do is talk about a couple of specialized search tools. I want to talk about a strategy for finding sources and some services for the future. So the first thing, I just decided to show a quick example as a way to think about doing advanced searching. So this is a search in one of our databases called Scopus. So it has it's a kind of one of our major science databases. And what I want to demonstrate here is how to build a search like this. So in this case, I have searched on colon cancer, and then I've put it into quotes. So quotes is going to help you when you're searching a 2 or 3 word phrase or a name or a place. And then I have that fancy word or, and then I have colorectal cancer also in quotes. So I'm telling the database to search for either one of those 2 terms. And then I've used that word and in between my next concept, which is the idea of screening for the cancer. So I've put the word screen, the root of the word, and then a little asterisk. So I'm telling the database to search for the different word endings. So screen, screen, screening, screeners. Sometimes it makes a big difference in our databases, and sometimes it doesn't really matter. So it's a good strategy, though, to try. And then I've added in a third term there. Trend or prevalence or uptake of the screening is what I'm trying to find articles that are talking about. So again, I've put those 3 words, I've put the word or between them, and then I've put that asterisk at the end to find those different word endings. So this can be a good way to build a search. In this next strategy, very similar, just a different, slightly different look and feel in our database. So this is in a database called Sociological Abstracts. And here I've searched on the word stress and teenagers or adolescents. So you always want to try to figure out what are those different words that different authors and scholars are using. If I do a search on the word teenager and there's a great article that talks about adolescence, the database isn't smart enough to bring it up. Instead, you need to remember and put in some of those words. So I recommend for something that you're maybe interested in searching for is trying to write down or document or put in a Google Doc or somewhere the 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 words or search terms that you're finding useful. And those are going to build over time. At the beginning of a topic, it's kind of hard, you're not sure what you're searching for, but as you get and learn more about a topic, be really aware of the keywords that you're using and the search terms that you're finding and how the scholars and the authors are talking about things, and then build that back into your searching. And then I've added that other term of Hispanic or Latino with or Chicano with the idea of the asterisk. It's always important when you're thinking about any kind of research is how the terms have changed over time. And if you're doing any historic research, to think about how terms were used in the past. And if you're interested in very current research, you need to think about how authors might be kind of changing the terms literally, as they're publishing a new paper, for example, and try to capture all of that realm of the terms. So here's a quick overview of some of our big social science databases. Interdisciplinary research and thinking about it is really a good thing to know about. So Sage Research Methods is a great database that talks about research methods. So it's kind of like an ebook collection where you can search on how different research methods are out there, qualitative, quantitative, and read all about them. That's pretty cool. Info is one of our major psychology databases. You can also find all of our databases on our homepage under databases A to Z, if you know the database you're specifically looking for. All right, so sociological abstracts and anthropology abstracts are great. JSTOR is a database I bet many of you are familiar with. One thing to keep in mind about JSTOR, it works really well. It has a lot of full text. The only downside is that it could be missing the most current 2 to 5 years of some of those journals, so even most of those journals. Ethnic News Watch is a great database if you're interested in looking at alternative press kind of newspapers or journals. Gender Watch has to do obviously with gender studies issues. Policy Map is a cool tool that is, again, kind of a bit of policy, and it's actually a mapping tool, and you can overlay cool things on maps. Mental measurements and tests in print are useful for psychology and education. Education Source is one of our major education databases. And then last on this particular list is Communications and Mass Media Complete. It's very good if you're talking about any current event issues or anything and you want to think about how the media has covered a specific issue. Here are some of our major science databases: Web of Science, Scopus, SciFinder is one of our chemistry databases. PubMed and Medline are our major health science databases for human health. Engineering Village, engineering, and then CAB Abstracts has a lot to do with agriculture, plants, animals, things like that. So the strategy that I want to be sure that you all are aware of is the idea of sort of tracing and making connections between different types of sources. So one strategy that I bet many of you have done is when you found a source or an article that's useful to you, you've gone to look at that article's bibliography. That's a great strategy. Definitely go ahead and continue to do that. In a lot of our databases, you can actually do that online. So you can just sort of scroll through it online and then click to get connected directly to the full text. So that's a great strategy. The downside, of course, is that all of that is going to be older than the article that you found. So let's say that you found an article from 2016 and you're looking at that bibliography, but they're all getting older and older and older. So that's, again, a great strategy for finding theories, seminal articles that are really important to a specific field or a discipline. The other strategy to know about, though, is let's say that you could use a tool to find articles that have recently been published that have used that original 2016 article, for example, in their bibliographies. So that's what I want to show you next. And we use the librarians like myself sometimes call that cited reference searching. And two of our major tools are called Web of Science and Google Scholar. So now I want to just walk you through a quick search, and then I want to give a demonstration of how to easily use these tools to make these connections between the citations. So I'm going to start at the library homepage, lib.umn.edu, and library search here is a good tool. It searches a lot of different stuff, different journal articles and magazines and newspapers and books and online books. But I'm going to scroll down here and go to our resources by subject box. So this is a great way to connect to those databases, those smaller, more subject-specific collections of journals, magazines, newspapers. And then we also have databases that have data and images and music and streaming video and all sorts of different things like that. Today, we're focused more on kind of that journal literature. So I'm going to scroll all the way almost down to the bottom of the page. It's a very long page, which is great. And I am going to find sociology. So I'm going to do a quick search in our sociology abstracts database to give you an example of how you can go about using this strategy. But it does work. It works very well in the sciences and the social sciences as well. Okay, so I'm going to go to the advanced search, which is what I usually do when I'm searching any of our databases. And again, anything that I talk about here is applicable in all of our other databases as well. So let's say that I'm interested in something to do with the global pandemic right now. So let's say that I want to search on coronavirus, or I'm going to use that word, or I want maybe COVID-19, and maybe I'm interested in the time in the past. So maybe I want pandemic or epidemic. Okay, so I'm going to put all those words in my first search box, and then maybe I'm interested in thinking about articles that might be talking about different kinds of disparities, maybe health disparities or economic disparities. So in this case, I'm just going to use the word disparities because I kind of want to explore what's out there. And then I'm going to click the word search. The other thing that you might want to do is get familiar with, for this case, I'm going to search for my words anywhere, but you can also change where your words occur, just in the abstract, for example, or maybe in the title. That can be a great way to try to zero in on a smaller set of articles that are more relevant to your topic. It depends on where you are in your research strategy, if you want to see a lot of different things that are out there, or if you only want a few articles. In this case, I'm going to keep it with anywhere, and I'm just going to click search. And once you start looking at your results, you always want to take a moment and try to figure out how are they sorted. Why are they in the order that they're ordered? Some of our databases are sorted in date order with the newest at the top, and some of them are sorted in relevance order. So take a moment and figure out, is this date or is this relevance? In this case, this database sorts it by relevance, but I could change it to date order if I wanted to. Those are both really great strategies to look at results. You just want to know which one you're doing and then change it accordingly. So I'm going to keep the relevance here. Over on the left-hand side, like many of our databases, I can limit to specific types of sources, specific date ranges, and things like that. Okay, for the purposes of this demonstration though, let's say that I'm interested in this third article. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. I'm going to get all of my citation information here. I get the abstract, that summary of the article. The other thing I get are these subject terms. These can be very helpful for doing additional searching. That keyword piece that I was mentioning, you can go ahead and click on these and it will actually search that term more as a concept. So definitely give that a try. The other thing that this database has here is it has this references. So in this case, that is this article's bibliography. So this article is from 2016. There are 68 articles in this bibliography. I can go through, click on that, and just scroll through and then get to the full text and do different things with those online. The other thing that this database does, which more of our database are doing, is over here it gives cited by two. So there are two articles in this database that are using the 2016 article in their bibliographies. So go ahead and click on that. That's a great way to begin to make these connections or these networks. But we also have tools that even specialize in this. So what I'm going to do in this case now is I'm just going to copy my article title. And then I'm going to go back to the library homepage and I'm going to use a slightly different tool. So I'm going to go here to the library homepage. In our highly used databases box, we have a tool called Web of Science. So it's called Web of Science, but it has science in it, but it also has social sciences and humanities. So this tool works really well for this purpose, and you can definitely go ahead and just search it alone as well. And I'm going to paste in my title for the article. Seems a little bit strange, but basically what I'm going to do is kind of re-find my article. Here it is. I've refound it here, but now in this database over here, it says time cited 5. So now I've found 3 additional articles that use that other article. So this can be a great way to, again, form kind of networks or connections between different sources, different authors, and different researchers. So it's a very powerful technique. It works well for if you're working on a literature review, if you just want to go in depth, if you find, again, that great article that's really on the topic you're interested in, but it's a little bit older, this can be a great strategy for that. Lots of great ideas around this, so definitely give this a try. As I scroll down and look at my list of results here, then for this one, for example, now this one has been cited 2 other times, so I can again make that network or make that connection. The other tool that helps to do that same strategy is Google Scholar. I bet many of you have used Google Scholar. If you haven't, give it a try. Google Scholar is also listed in our highly used databases. So I'm going to go here and click on Google Scholar. And the reason why I want to go to the library homepage to click on Google Scholar is that then Google Scholar knows that we're affiliated with the University of Minnesota, so we can actually set up connections directly to the full text. So that can really help when you're using Google Scholar. So I'm just going to, in this case, copy and paste my title of that same original article here. Here's this article. And now it's going to say cited by 11. Google Scholar is always going to usually find more citations because it's going to find things that might not be kind of traditional journal literature. So that might be helpful for some disciplines more than others, but it's definitely a good thing to try. The other thing is here is a link to a connection that is going to get me directly into the full text available through the libraries, but using Google Scholar to get there. The other thing I'll point out about Google Scholar that I like very much is if you haven't clicked on this little quote thing, it can also quickly create a citation for you that you can copy and paste and use in different ways. Good, so we just went through that strategy of using Web of Science and Google Scholar to trace those citations, making those connections. The next thing I want to do is then just quickly cover a few different other tips and tricks that might be helpful to you as you're working this summer, next semester, and in the future. Okay, we talked briefly about Google Scholar. Google Books is another tool that some of you might find helpful. If you do a search in Google Books, you're actually searching through the full text of the books, which is very different than some of the library tools, which just search the information about the book. You might not be able to get access to the full contents of the book through Google Books, but it'll help you identify some books or book chapters that might be useful, and then you can either get them through the library or request them online as well. Dissertations are a sort of a big chunk of the literature that you might want to explore. It can be useful to find dissertations and theses to see what current research is being done about a specific topic. You can skim through a dissertation to see what research methods a researcher used, how they analyzed their data, what data they collected, how a dissertation or a thesis just sort of looks and feels. You can find dissertations and theses from here at the University of Minnesota to get a sense of what they look like, to get a sense of how long they are in your discipline, outside of your discipline. You can get some tips and tricks about strategies and things like that. You can also find dissertations about a potential faculty mentor who you might be interested in and see what their students' dissertations or theses look like. So in order to find these, we do have a database that we call dissertations and theses. So you can go ahead and just search them as a big kind of chunk of the literature. We don't necessarily have access to all of the full text of those, but you should be able to get some of them. We do. Go ahead and click on that PDF. Sometimes you might need to use interlibrary loan. You can also search for, again, that title in a tool like Google or Google Scholar, because a lot of dissertations and theses are now out there kind of on the web. You can even contact the author. They can also help, and they might be willing to share a chapter or even their whole dissertation with you. Specifically for dissertations at the University of Minnesota, we have them in a website called the Digital Conservancy. So that's something, again, you can go and explore online whenever you want. In terms of getting anything that we don't have access to, definitely use our interlibrary loan service. There's a box on our homepage called Interlibrary Loan. It's a great way to get anything we don't have, whether it's a journal article, if you found something great on Google, or a mentor gives you a citation and we don't have it, great way to request it. It works really well for book chapters. I recommend in the next couple of weeks, give it a try. Go ahead and request something so you understand the process, you see how it looks and feels and things like that. We can also make digital scans of things that we have in our print collection. Definitely go ahead and request anything. Don't worry about, I don't know if the library can get it. I don't know what it is exactly. Go ahead and request it. And we are creative and can think about different ways to be able to get it most of the time, or we'll get back to you with some additional information if we can't get it for some reason. But definitely go ahead and request it. Organizing is an important part of any project that you're working on. So this is a great time to think about how you're going to organize those citations, those PDFs. We recommend some citation management tools. This is a great time to get started with those if you haven't used them. Zotero and Mendeley are the two free tools that we recommend. And note is a tool that does cost some money, and you can buy it through the bookstore or online. We have a lot of information about these tools. The great thing about these tools is that they'll help you to organize your citations and your PDFs so that they kind of live in those tools and you can get back to them easily instead of just having a folder on your desktop that has 50 articles in it. They can be organized and put into different things. And then when you're ready, these tools have a little plugin with Microsoft Word or with a tool like Google Docs, and they'll automatically insert the in-text citation as you're writing, and then they'll automatically create the bibliography at the end. These tools work with different citation styles, whether APA, MLA, or different tools. They also work with endnotes and footnotes, so definitely give those tools a try. One of the last things I want to talk about is just briefly, as you are doing your research, you might learn about or become familiar with some journals that are really interesting to you and talking about what you're interested in. One thing that you can do is you can go to the publisher's website and sign up to get the table of contents sent to you whenever they put out a new issue. So that can be really great. The other thing is a lot of our databases can also, once you can set up a search for a pretty specific search that you like the results of, and then you can set up an alert so that the database will run a search and send you the results. So it's a great way to just kind of keep up with literature or topics that you're interested in, so you don't have to remember to go do it. So in the next couple of weeks, in the next semester or two, try out some of these tools and again, determine which ones you like, which ones maybe you don't like, which is useful. And it really helps to just kind of build those skills so you can be more efficient over time. Definitely remember, please ask us with any questions about any of these different services or tools. I recommend spending about 5 to 10 minutes doing any kind of thing. If you're starting to feel like you're wasting your time or getting frustrated, it's a great time to stop and ask us. You can schedule online consultations. You can actually chat 24/7 with the librarian. You can send us an email and we'll get back to you usually within 24 hours. And the reason why I say only spend 5 or 10 minutes is because your time is very valuable and you should spend time finding the sources you need, reading them, beginning to work on your projects, not just fighting with the library website. We have broken links, we have dead ends, we always try to fix them, but we're here to help you, to support you in your work. Thank you.